Hello, it's Audrey, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about my college admissions and answering some of your college questions. So, this video is going to be broken down into 4 parts. So, the first one is going to be my college stats and admissions. The next will be general college advice. The third will be UCLA specific advice. And then lastly, I'm going to be answering questions I get a lot. So I'm going to start off first talking about my UC application stats and what helped me get into the UCs. I probably get the most questions about this, so I wanted to address it first. So I applied to a bunch of schools, including all the UCs, 6 Cal State schools, 2 private schools, and 2 out-of-state schools. And I was accepted into all of the schools I applied to, except for Stanford, and then I was also waitlisted at UC Irvine, Davis, and Loyola. So for the UCs, they really only count your sophomore and junior year GPA. And with that, I was able to get all A's, so my overall weighted GPA was about a 4.37. And unweighted, just for sophomore and junior year, I had a 4.0. But if you count my freshman year, I had an unweighted GPA of 3.83. And then I also took the SAT, even though the schools didn't accept it, but I did get a score of 1340, but I didn't decide to use it anywhere. And then for all of the schools I applied to, I applied for biology, and my second choice major was undecided in the College of Letters and Science. On the screen, I've listed which AP and honors classes I took. So this includes AP World History, Biology, Environmental Science, US History, Psychology, Calculus, and Physics. And for honors, I took Chemistry, Spanish 3, and Spanish 4. And on the screen, I listed which grade I took the class in and what score I got. Okay, moving on to extracurriculars, I had a lot of activities. I tried to fill out as many of the activities as possible, even if I only did it for one semester or if I wasn't super active. So I tried to put the ones I was most committed to at the top and then the least committed to at the bottom of the list. As you can see here on the screen, I have a lot of activities. I put my position in the front end of the parentheses and which grades I did this activity for in the second half. My biggest ones were basketball, plant club, and orchestra. I had various volunteer programs and tutoring and my school's honor and service society. For work, I worked as a camp counselor for one summer, and I also did the San Francisco Botanical Garden internship, and I have a video about that up on my channels if you want to watch that. And for other coursework, I included being a TA for my orchestra teacher. And also, the ones with the asterisk, I also wrote down on the activities list for the common application. So, just moving on to the UC prompts, I chose to write about the ones where I asked for an example of leadership, how I used an educational opportunity or advantage, how I've made my school better, and describing my creative side. For the first one, I wrote about plant club and my botanical garden internship. For the second one, I chose about how at my high school I was able to choose my classes and how the competitive environment encouraged me to work hard. For the third one, I wrote about my school's honor and service society and peer mentoring, so how I help teachers and incoming freshmen transition into high school. And then finally, for my creative side, I talked about playing the violin in orchestra and also being a part of orchestra leadership where I helped create flyers and helped run the social media accounts. And for the Common App essay, the prompt I chose to answer was write about an event that sparked personal growth and a new understanding of yourself. And similar to the first UC prompt, I wrote about Plant Club and my botanical garden internship. And the overall theme was like how I've grown as a leader and how I learned to work with others and lead groups of people. But overall, you do want to promote yourself. Like, you don't need to really tell them your whole life story. You just need to tell them why you deserve to be at that school and why they should give you a spot out of like the thousands of students applying. At first, I decided to use a writing service to help with my UC and Common App prompts, but I found that it wasn't very helpful, so I decided to cancel that. And I ended up writing a lot of it with my dad and mom. So yeah, there are a lot of writing services to help you out. I definitely would not recommend using any AI or ChatGPT to write your essays because the schools will be able to tell. And then also, there are some YouTube videos from the UCs themselves that will help you understand what they're looking for in your essays. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of other YouTubers on here that are geared more towards helping you and your application. I also wanted to mention I started writing my essays around end of August and October. And obviously, it's a lot better to start earlier. I was just very unmotivated. Just get started as soon as possible, especially for the UCs. The prompts never change, and you can kind of get an idea of what you want to write about pretty early on in high school. If you're having trouble starting, I would just say to write a list of everything you've done throughout high school. It's like all the different extracurriculars, activities, volunteering, any of it. Because you can go from there and see which activities can kind of answer certain questions. Okay, so that's it. So, gonna move on to the next section. Okay, next I'm going to be talking about some general college advice. So, first I want to talk about the transition from high school to college. So, for me, it was pretty difficult. I had some trouble adjusting to moving away from home, and I was pretty homesick for the first quarter. What helped was calling my parents every day, and also I was lucky enough to go back home during holidays, and sometimes my parents were able to visit me in LA. And just know that being homesick or feeling nervous about school is very normal. A lot of students, if not all students, feel the same way. And living on your own can be scary, but once you're able to find your own like family in college, it gets a lot better. Like once I found my family at UCLA, I was actually really excited to go back to school, and I'm looking forward to this upcoming school year. And this transition to college is going to be different for everyone. I was very nervous, but I know a lot of other people were very excited and couldn't wait to move to college. So, whatever you're feeling, just know that it's very normal, and as the years go on, you'll be okay. Okay, and then on what to pack, I actually have a spreadsheet linked down below with the things I think are the most important to bring. So yeah, just check that out if you're wondering what to pack. And I guess my biggest advice is just to not overpack. When my parents visited or when I went back home for holidays, I brought a lot of stuff back that I realized I didn't need. So this includes like extra clothing or extra stationery that I thought I would use because I wanted to make my dorm like my room, but honestly, there's just no room for that since you are likely to be living with other people in a very small room. I think the biggest things to bring besides the essentials would be long charging cables, especially if you have a bunk bed, because all of the outlets are at the bottom of the room. And then also organization bins for like clothing, any other storage, and whatnot. And then also extra lighting like lamps, because sometimes your roommates will want to be asleep, but you want to keep studying and you don't want to use the overhead lights. So having your own lamp near your desk is helpful. Okay, next about living situation. So I lived in a triple and I'm going to be living in a triple this upcoming year with the same roommates. Luckily, I was able to choose my roommates beforehand, and my roommates are very nice and I enjoy living with them. So, if you have the opportunity to do so, I would suggest choosing your roommates. You can find them on Instagram, or some schools like UCLA have websites where you can connect with other incoming first years. And if you're able to, I would also suggest meeting up with your roommates beforehand. So in the summer, my roommates and I were able to hang out in San Francisco and kind of get to know each other better before actually living with each other. And it was kind of reassuring, like actually getting to know the person I was going to be living with for the next 9 months. And also, I know everyone wants to be nice and find a roommate, but it is important to ask the difficult questions, like their habits, like sleeping habits, daily habits, when they wake up, when they go to sleep, everything like that, because you are living with them for the next 9 months. And it's important to prioritize what you need, especially since moving to college is a big deal and you just want to be as comfortable as possible. And just know like your roommates don't have to be your best friends. My roommates and I were pretty close during the fall quarter, but once we each found our own friend group, we started to hang out less and less. By the end of spring quarter, I was barely seeing them. Like, I would only talk to them at night right before we were about to go to bed. And if worse comes to worse and you're having a lot of difficulties with your roommates, your RA can help you mediate the situation. And if worse comes to worse, you can probably ask to switch rooms, but obviously it'd be best to try and work on the situation if possible. Okay, next, I want to talk about intramural sports and different clubs. So, I was a part of two clubs this year, and I do regret not being more active in them earlier in the year. didn't really get involved in either of them until winter quarter and spring quarter. And I do think that helped me feel less homesick because I was just so preoccupied with my classes and then also the clubs that I didn't have time to be homesick. There are a bunch of different clubs. I know for UCLA we have like a certain website that has a list of all the clubs, but a lot of schools hold activities fairs in the beginning of school where clubs or Greek life can advertise themselves and you get to know more about them. And just a fair warning because I wasn't expecting this, but some clubs do ask you to fill out an application, and in some cases, you do have to pay to join the clubs. For one of the clubs I'm in right now, I had to apply and pay around $35, but the other one was completely free and it was welcome for anyone to join. Some are going to be more competitive than others. I would say just join as many as you can, and you don't have to commit to them. So if you feel like it's not worth your time or you're just not getting anything out of it, it's okay for you to leave. Like, they're not going to hold it over you. And there are a wide variety of clubs. So, like, there's a lot of cultural, arts and crafts club, volunteer, health related, career oriented clubs for you to join. So there's definitely going to be a club where you'll meet a lot of people with similar interests as you. And also, I would suggest leaving early for your classes, not rushing to buy your textbooks because oftentimes my professors provided a free PDF or online version of the textbook, so I didn't actually have to pay full price for a physical textbook. And lastly, don't feel forced to be friends with someone just because you see them all the time. I know it's pretty typical to like have a very big friend group in the beginning of the year. As time goes by, it often dwindles down to just a few people, which I think is better because it's better to have quality friends over a large quantity of friends. That is it for my general advice, but if you have more questions, feel free to ask either in the comments or fill out the Google form in the description down below. Okay, third, I wanted to talk about UCLA specific advice. So during my first year at UCLA, I stayed in a Plaza Triple with a shared bathroom. So this meant that there were 6 girls, like 2 triples, and then 1 shared bathroom. And I chose my roommates beforehand, which was really nice. I used this website called Roomball, and it's kind of like a dating app. So you like match with certain people who would be a good fit as a roommate. I would suggest for first years that it would be best to stay in a dorm with AC. So that includes the deluxe and plazas. So I would personally suggest a deluxe, even though I've never stayed in one. Like, they have AC and they have the communal bathrooms, and the rooms are pretty spacious, and it is cheaper than the plaza. I mean, I never stayed there, so I can't say for certain whether it's a good choice or not, but I've heard a lot of people like it, and it is the most requested dorm style. Like I said, I stayed in a plaza, so some pros were I had AC, we had a private bathroom, and the overall building was generally pretty quiet. But some cons, it is a little bit more expensive compared to the other dorms. It's the third most expensive dorm style, and there's very little floor interaction. So since we don't have the communal style bathrooms, everyone keeps to themselves a lot of the times. And my suite mates, so the girls in the other triple who we shared a bathroom with, we had very different personalities and lifestyles, so we just didn't really hang out that much. But yeah, there is a list of all the dorms, and you can take a little virtual tour of the dorms. And in some of my videos, I do show what my dorm looked like if you want to see that. So I want to say that I created a document with a bunch of UCLA websites, so including like general advice, student resources, housing, extracurriculars, and more. So that is going to be linked in the description if you want to check that out. Next, I wanted to talk about class enrollment. I suggest that you should go to your orientation because you will be assigned a new student advisor, and they will basically help you choose your classes for the fall quarter, your first year. And my new student advisor was very helpful. She taught me how to enroll in my classes, and she gave me a lot of great advice to help me get the classes that I want. But if you're unable to go, that's okay, because I will be able to help you right now. Generally, in your first quarter, you want to be taking 3 classes, which is anywhere from 12 to 15 units. To be considered a full-time student, you must be taking at least 12 units every quarter. And usually you have a maximum of 19 units. So I personally took 3 classes in the fall, which gave me which was equal to 15 units, and I felt like that was very manageable. It made the transition into college a lot easier as I had a lot of free time to get used to the school and meet new people. And the classes I were in were geared towards new students, so they were very understanding if we missed an assignment or had some trouble getting set up in the beginning of the year. So enrollment in UCLA can be a little bit difficult. For me, I've had a lot of trouble getting into the classes that I want, especially as the quarters go on. So every quarter you are going to be assigned an enrollment time. So for example, if when you're choosing your classes for the winter quarter, you are going to enroll in them during like week 7 or 8 of fall quarter. And you'll be assigned an enrollment time, which is based off of your standing or how many units you've taken. But yeah, everyone's times will be different. They're staggered every 30 minutes. Earlier in the day your time is, the better chance you have of getting the classes you want. And I believe these times range from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then for choosing your classes, there is a general catalog listed down below if you want to check out all the different classes available. I would recommend running your degree audit report or DARS. You can find this under the My UCLA website, and it basically tells you how many units you need to complete in order to graduate. And I'll tell you how many classes you've taken to fulfill your GEs and your major requirements. Oh yeah, and it also tells you which classes will fulfill which GEs and which classes will fulfill your major upper division courses. And when you're choosing your classes, you can look up your professor's reviews on Brew and Walk, which is a website that is also in the Google Doc link down below. And there's also a grade distribution website, so it tells you the grade distribution of the class during a certain quarter with a certain professor. But just know that generally you don't really know how the professor is like until you've taken his or her class, and these reviews are not always accurate, so just keep an open mind and don't base everything off of these reviews. And I have a more in-depth video on how to enroll in your classes on my Instagram and TikTok, so I will link it down below as well. Next, I want to talk about dining. So UCLA has the #1 dining hall in all of America, and I have to attest that the food is pretty good. While I never tried any other college food, everyone who visits says it's pretty good compared to the school they go to, so I think that's a good sign. And I think the best part of the dining halls is that there's a really wide variety. So there's 3 buffet dining halls, although these are subject to change. And yeah, one's very like healthy, and then one serves more European, like Italian inspired food, and another is very American diner styled. So they serve like pizza and burgers and whatnot. But yeah, besides those 3, we also have a bunch of other dining halls that are more like to go, or like for one swipe you get like a plate of food. My favorite is Feast, which is an Asian inspired dining hall. And some of the foods there include popcorn chicken, galbi, sushi ritos, and more. So yeah, there are a bunch of different dining halls and everyone has their own favorite one. But yeah, I will list all of them down below, and I can write what I think of each one. But I know some of them are subject to change. Like they changed throughout the year when I was there. So yeah. So overall there are 6 different meal plans, which includes 11 PNR, 14 PNR, and 19 PNR. So with 11, you get 11 swipes a week, 14 swipes a week, and 19 is the maximum, which is 19 swipes a week. And P basically means premium. For example, if you have 19P, you get 19 swipes a week. And if you don't use up all those swipes once the week is over, they roll over to the next week. But with regular, these swipes don't roll over. So if you don't use up the 19 swipes in that week, they will not roll over, and you will basically lose those swipes. In my fall quarter, I had 19P, and I did have quite a few left over, so I decided to switch to 19R for my winter and spring quarter, and that worked pretty well. The only downside is that with regular, you cannot use multiple swipes in one meal period. So sometimes, like if you're at like a to-go dining hall and you want to get 2 meals, you cannot do that. Or like if we have the food trucks out and you want to get something at the food truck and something at the dining hall, you can only do that if you have a premium meal plan or if you use someone else's swipe. But there are some pros, like having a regular meal plan is cheaper and you still get 19 swipes per week. But just a fair warning, there's been a lot of rumors that UCLA is reducing the value of a swipe. So my first year, one swipe was worth $9. So if you went to like Panda Express or Rubio's on campus, if something was under $9, it was like you didn't have to pay for it. But if something was $10, you would use one swipe and pay $1. But yeah, apparently they are reducing the value of a swipe to maybe $4. I'm not $4 or $5. I'm not quite sure. So if that is the case, I will probably be switching back to 19p. Yeah, every quarter you are able to switch your meal plan if that's something you want. So yeah, don't stress about it too much. And worst comes to worst, if you run out of swipes, you can always buy food in Westwood. So going over a meal period, there are 4 different meal periods. So there's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and extended dinner. So for breakfast, this is from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. For lunch, this is usually around 11 to either 2 or 3 o'clock. For dinner, that is open from 5 to 9. And then lastly, for extended dinner, which is from 9 p.m. to midnight. And below, I have a website listed which shows you the dining hall hours and what they will be serving that day. So yeah. And similar to what I touched upon earlier, I would suggest for incoming students to attend orientation if you're able to. It is around $500 to $600, but you are staying there for 2 nights or 3 days. And sign up usually opens around May, and the sign up will stay open until all the spots are filled. So basically, at orientation, you're taught how enrollment works, and you're given a tour of the campus, and you get to try the dorm food. You also get to see how the dorms are like, and I got a lot of free stuff at orientation, which was nice. And I think the most helpful part, like I said earlier, is that your new student advisor will teach you how to enroll in your classes, and you sign up for your fall quarter classes at orientation. Some little tips are you can print essays or like papers for free at the Student Activity Center Computer Lab. And my favorite place on campus is the Sunset Canyon Recreation Center. Now, generally, this is open to the public, but it is free for all UCLA students to use. So my gardening club is up there, and also there are like sand volleyball fields. There's different pools that you're allowed to swim in, and there's a huge field for students to like suntan or have a picnic, and it's really great. Lastly, I wanted to talk about what comes with your dorm. You are given a bed, desk, chair, wardrobe, dressers, and then there's also water fountains and water bottle refill stations on each floor. And there's also vacuums upon request. And you can also rent a micro fridge, which is a mini fridge and a microwave. And this does cost around, I believe it was like $500 to $600 for the year for one single room. And you can split that cost with your roommates. But these are limited and they're distributed based off of the lottery system. But if you are unable to get one, you can still bring a fridge, but I don't believe you're allowed to bring a microwave. Okay, lastly, I'm going to be answering some questions I get very frequently. So the first one is, what is my major? And I am a biology major, and I'm going to be a second year. A lot of the questions I get are about my stats, which I talked about earlier in this video. So yeah. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. So thank you for watching, and if you have anything else you want to see, please let me know. And with that, I'll see y'all next video. Bye!